right, let me know if that's working now. It looks like it is, but let me
All
know
right, so if everything's working, let us know. Great. In the meantime, let me continue my Comcast bit. So, because I'm getting myself set up for Comcast, I feel like I've got the best customer support guy ever. This guy's already called me 3 times to make sure everything's like set up. He spent like a bunch of time with me yesterday talking about how ridiculous this old piece of shit building is. And apparently he's going to call me back again Saturday if things don't go well. Because I was telling him about how the fact that we have cables that just like sort of stick out of the side of the building and all sort of other ridiculous things. And he's like, what the fuck?
What you don't know is that he actually doesn't work for Comcast and he's just very lonely and wants to call you.
Right.
What you don't know is he's actually a ghost.
Ooh! So the thing is, what I'm expecting as soon as I get
He's
things
a
set
rapey
up,
ghost. I just want to say that.
he's going to stab me in my sleep with his dick.
No, he's gonna...
Well, you didn't hear what I said then. Anyways, so ultimately I expect as soon as I'm done setting this whole fucking thing up, that shit's gonna hit the fan, and then I'm gonna have the worst service ever. It's just gonna be where it's at. So, I don't know. So far, good service. I also haven't paid anything yet.
See, it's like the welcoming committee, I think. They're all like, hey, yeah, here's some cake. And then as soon as you're part of it, the next time you walk through, they're going to punch you in the face and be like, you already had your cake.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm expecting. So yeah, that's related to tech news in my life right now. So hopefully, again, next week by this time, I'll have some good fucking internets and none of this bullshit of the rope.
So a little bit more on kind of tech news. Apple just spent $850 million on solar power.
Okay.
So they're upgrading their main facility in Cupertino, California, and they're also they're trying to go completely off the grid, which makes me just nervous because they've also said they wanted to do this for their data center.
Evil robots, bro. That's where it's at.
Evil robots. Well, I guess it'd be nice if they're all self-sufficient. I just feel like I don't know if solar technology's there yet, so. I mean, it's going to take even longer for them to respond to your support requests.
I know, right?
So what's interesting about this, though, is it's not just all of a sudden they're going to install these solar panels on the roof. So the company that's doing this is actually building a whole new facility down in Monterey to be able to provide enough power for this kind of thing. It's pretty cool stuff. I know Google has huge, probably one of the largest wind farm facilities as well, powering their stuff. And Microsoft kind of dabbled into it a little bit. Just like talking numbers here. So they're looking at, let's see, Microsoft has 285 megawatts at its disposal. Google has roughly 1 gigawatt at its disposal, and Apple here is going to look at 130 megawatts as well. So
I have to ask. So go ahead.
No. Oh, I was going to say, Eduardo, do me one favor and never apply for a job at CNN, because it's going to be fuck, what? All right, so then.
Oh no, I don't do this because I'm good at it. I do this because it entertains me.
So my question is, and this is really important. Do you have any fucking idea what any of that just meant?
1.21 gigawatts.
Well, but what is that actually? Do you know what that actually is?
It's from
power
Back to the
output?
Future.
Yeah, but how much power is that? Do you know?
Oh, in comparison, it's a fucking shit ton if it's running their whole facility. I
wanted to make sure you had a vague idea of what you were even saying, because it almost sounded like you were just like, duh, there's some shit on a paper and I'm reading it.
No. The specific numbers, I didn't just want to be like, well, they've got 2 lightning strikes worth of power running to their fucking,
That would have been way cooler.
The exact fucking number, all right? I have notes and shit. You. Anyways, in other not tech news but entertainment news, did you guys have a chance to check out the new Hitman?
No, but I have heard a tiny bit about it.
So they actually
went.
There is a bald guy in it.
Yay!
Thank you, Devin. So they actually took the whole Timothy Oliphant thing and were like, that's not a thing. Here we go. Bye.
So they're doing a fucking reboot. I like it.
Yeah, pretty much. They're like, no, done. We're sorry. That didn't happen. And it does look like they're doing an origin story, which I know we kind of mostly hate
More of
origin
those.
stories here, but for this one, you kind of have to, right? It's not an origin story has never been done before, and the video game
Have you played
was
all the games? Are you sure about that?
in a movie.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant like they've never said his origin.
No, no, no.
Like, I'm
So
pretty sure
the
they
people
did
that the people
Right.
that have played the games will obviously know, right? But it's coming to a more mainstream audience again.
Because we need that.
Yeah, but now it's kind of hopefully they're doing it right. I saw the trailer and I'm kind of excited for this. I don't think that I think it'll do much better than the last one. So it's less so far it looks less love story Hitman-y, more just action kill shit Hitman-y,
So what
which
you were
is
looking for was less shitty.
yeah, that you know, a lot of
shitty.
that. But anyways, I'm actually really looking forward to it. And also on a kind of agent note, the reviews for Kingsman have come in, and I'm super excited about that as well.
For a second, I thought you said on an Asian note.
On an Asian
Oh, look at all the good movies coming out. And
I
now
think you
we
need to
lost
say
our
that in
viewers.
Spanish.
Mira todas las películas que van a salir. I can't do Spanish with an Asian accent. It just doesn't work that way.
I was
Let's
kind of
go
hoping
right
you'd
now.
try,
Oh,
though.
if you could have done it, it would have been so magical.
It would have been
You have
glorious,
no
dude.
idea.
Oh,
Well-
man.
Man, I'm trying to remember because there are actually quite a bit of Japanese people in Mexico. One of my closest friends who's from Mexico and everything, he's somewhere along the way a Japanese person snuck in and he doesn't actually look Mexican. You've met him, Bob.
That's good?
That's totally
Yeah.
That's
me.
good! Oh, I love that guy.
Gotta love Bob. Bob the Asian.
Bob is awesome because Bob knows, like, one descriptive phrase. Like, he'd be like, how you doing? He'd be like, oh, you know, great, I just got me. He'd be like, oh, that's good, that's good. Everything is,
Yeah.
oh,
He
that's
literally
good.
just
I love
says,
that
"That's
guy.
good?"
But he is that enthusiastic about it all the time. Like, he gives a shit. To him, that is good.
Even if he doesn't have any other ways to say it, he knows.
Yes,
He knows.
exactly. It's great. It's great.
Bob is great. One last bit of news, and this is more of on a personal note. I finally got my whole citizenship letter. Guess who gets to go get interviewed to see if I can be a real boy?
Oh, you were so gonna fail.
guy.
You
know-
should do it all in Spanish.
Actually, I might because they ask you. Apparently, you have to go through like kind of a civics quiz and U.S. history. I haven't touched that shit in like 10 years since I was in high school, ish. Whatever. Math
To
is
be
hard
honest,
also.
dude, I probably could not pass that test either. If you
Yeah,
need me to
that's-
show up in
that's-
court
that's
and be
funny
like,
about it.
Your Honor, come on.
That's
That's the funniest part. The American students don't learn as much as the people who go through immigration have to learn.
Yeah,
Seriously.
so the funny part is that as soon as I found out I was gonna take this test, I called up my mother. I was like, "Hey, how hard was that?" Because she had to go through the same thing, right? And she was like, "Well, mijo, for you guys that have been here all your life, they make it so easy. For us, it's hard." I'm like, "I'm pretty sure it's the same test, but okay."
Oh, they got a special, like, oh,
So, no.
accent hard
So-
test.
She was saying that she sat there in the room listening when she went listening to the other people, and it really depends on the agent. So it's like the fucking DMV. If that person's
great.
in a bad mood, you don't get citizenship.
How many times can you take this test before you're deported?
Well, I don't think they'll outright deport me. I'll just bust out my Purple Heart certificate and be like,
I mean, yeah.
and then they punch me in the face and drag me away.
I can't believe that you don't actually have citizenship, considering the fact you've been in the military and got blown up. Like, that blows me away.
As of September, I have been in the military for 12 years.
And you're still not a citizen.
Yeah, I know. It's a whole thing. Moving on, but yeah. Anyways,
Default, bitch.
coming in March, I've got a whole thing to show up to. I gotta dress all nice and snazzy. Actually, no, I'll dress
Because to
sloppy.
impress the white
No,
folk.
no, I'm just gonna dress up sloppy as fuck like a real American.
That's not a bad idea. Just make
Bring
sure you
a
got, like,
McDonald's
grease stains on
hamburger
a
with
white...
you.
Oh,
Yeah, get a white beater that's all white and just get some grease stains, just rub it in.
oh yeah, no, I'm gonna get a fucking like a 4-patty Whopper and a Diet Coke.
All right.
So,
moving
moving along, I know Eduardo played it before. I got it this way. It's opposite pointing, so I can point at Eduardo's screen. Yes. See, no, you had it right
right
the first
here.
time. You pointed right at him.
I have no idea which direction he was. I just sort of pointed away. Anyways.
Me and Steven have started playing Evolve.
Evolve.
So we were all a part of the alpha. You
Yes.
got into the beta but didn't get a chance to play it. Me and Eduardo weren't cool enough for the fucking beta. That way again.
Yeah, I was way cooler than you guys.
So we actually did Let's Play and put them up on the YouTube, I believe.
We
if
did.
You guys still want to check that out.
So, but what I wanted to ask Steven was, so we were part of the early access alpha. Have you noticed any big differences in the game from what we already played?
There's been some minor UI tweaks that have been in there for sure. And there's also a few other things, but for the most part, the game is relatively similar. I think also the optimization of the video settings and stuff, way better. There's also a few more bugs that weren't there before. Like, I actually play where I can see my mouse cursor no matter what I'm doing. And it's like one of those things where technically it's supposed to be there if you've, like, you know, press escape. But when you're not having, like, a window open, it's supposed to disappear in the background. So right now, whenever I'm playing, there's a little mouse pointer that's flying around all over the place as I'm looking around. It's ridiculous. Outside of that, no, I think the game's relatively similar. They did tweak a few of the, like, level up systems and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of changes that they've made, no.
So Evolve is now a thing, right? You've got that three versus one. You know, really kind of depresses me, not about the game specifically. Bioware has actually canceled their version of 3 versus 1, Shadow Realms, I believe it was called.
Yeah.
Right.
They've canceled it. They've decided they're focusing more on Dragon Age, a new unnamed Mass Effect game.
No,
and
tap into that a little bit more. The 3 they are focusing on.
Yeah. That's where I'm going. So Dragon Age, a new Mass Effect game, and they're focusing also on Star Wars: The Old Republic. It looks like they are refocusing a bunch of their dev teams to do more content. Basically, I think they're banking on the fact that Force Awakens is coming up, and they're trying to they think they're going to have an influx of players because of that.
They might.
Which is really unfortunate, because don't get me wrong, I played the first Dragon Age. I wasn't a huge fan, I'm sorry. I played their Mass Effect games, loved them to shit. I mean, trust me, I have all kinds of swag, and I played all the games at least 3 times straight through. And then for Star Wars: The Old Republic, I played it. I enjoyed it. Their endgame content at the time, I hear it's improved a lot. I haven't had a chance to really go back through and play that, because even when I have logged on, I'm so far fucking behind for the endgame content that I haven't had a chance to get through it. But I enjoyed it. It was okay. It's just they also said there's an unnamed new IP. I just feel like they put in all this work. They went through all these like expos and all that just to show this game, and then just to cancel it at the end. I almost feel like they're not telling us something. It's kind of depressing, because it was going to be a 3 versus 1, and I was actually a lot more interested in that than I've ever been in Evolve. Not just because it's a Bioware thing, but the idea of being a mage fighting this big creature just totally attracted me more than being a fucking dang all hunter, man. I'm gonna kill this big thing.
I mean, so if I remember correctly, I thought that the one that Bioware was doing had a sort of more dungeon-esque sort of thing going on, as opposed to, it was more like fantasy-oriented, right? And then they had sort of like a Spectre that one of the players got to play as. Was that the one of them that you're talking about? Because there was a couple similar that were kind of like there, and I don't remember which one's which.
So if I remember correctly, it's a 4-player as well, I believe. 3 people are the heroes. 1 person's going to be the dungeon boss, right?
Right.
I don't remember. I didn't actually get a chance to play any of the demos or anything like that, because it was all very closed, I believe.
Yeah, they had it at PAX, but I didn't check it out.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be the last character, the big boss was the 4th person, and you did have to do some stuff on the way, but I don't know if it was necessarily dungeon crawly kind of thing, or if it was more like how Evolve does it, where the big boss man has to level up, and then the other 3 have to either stop him or also get other items and stuff like that to fight him. So I honestly don't know the exact details of it. I'm just kind of bummed out they canceled it. And
right,
like, the only thing out of that I'm really excited about is Mass Effect, but they don't need. I don't know.
So
it sounds
my
like
stance
DLC
kind
is
of
what
on
they're focusing on.
Right. My stance on this is that it's never a good thing for a developer to decide to focus entirely on a couple of series. In my opinion, it's good to like have those staples, but it's one of my biggest complaints about Blizzard. But they're kind of branching away from that right now, which is really good on them. Is that when you focus on your couple of games, it's like you don't get the cool new stuff that they can do, especially for a studio that's got a lot of potential, like BioWare does. So for me, like although the Dragon Age series has been pretty successful. And I've played the first two, haven't played the newest one. It's one game, and then of course the Mass Effect trilogy was another big thing. But like again, these games are all just some games that already exist, and I'd like to see new stuff from these people, especially because like they did a really good job of world crafting with both Dragon Age and Mass Effect, though I'd say Mass Effect more so. So like they got all this great talent behind them, and I'd love to see it go other places. But now they're going to focus on these three games, and it's kind of, to me, it's a really sad thing.
And again, there is a fourth unknown IP. They haven't announced or anything.
Oh, they actually did say there was a fourth one?
Yeah. There is a fourth unnamed, but
okay.
It doesn't even sound like, since they didn't give a name, they didn't talk about any details. It sounds like it's very early in the development stage, and I honestly think that maybe SWTOR does need a little bit more. Okay, fair enough, but give me new stuff, right? I don't just want expansions, because what else are they going to focus on with Dragon Age? They didn't say there was a Dragon Age sequel, so it's got to be the DLC, and it's got to be this,
Well, I suspect DLC for sure there. You're right. Definitely.
So, I don't know. Give me new stuff. I want new stuff. It's been kind of dry with stuff coming out, at least stuff that I've been interested in lately, right? I found myself, like, I played Destiny, and even that's starting to get a little stale on me.
Only now? Wow, yeah. Impressive, dude.
Well, that's because they had that expansion that came out in, like, November. So that's lasted, 2 months for me. And I know that sounds like I have a very short attention span, but it got repetitive as fuck. And I've gone back. I'm going back through my Steam library. It's fucking amazing. I'm actually going back to games I haven't played. So Castlevania, was it Lord of Shadows or whatever, the third-person view one. I'm going back and I'm playing it. I'm actually using a controller like Devin loves, and it's a pretty good game. But the point is,
Devin's now known as the controller guy. And
there's nothing new.
Fucking judge me.
That I'm really interested in. I'm definitely looking forward to The Division when that finally comes out. But other than that, there's very little I'm interested in at the moment.
Stop saying you're looking forward to it. You're curious to see if it's a piece of shit or not.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking after Assassin's Creed. You're still like, this is definitely not going to be that.
Well,
to be fair, though,
admit, there's been some good Ubisoft releases, so it's not like it's guaranteed to fuck up.
Well, just saying. And to be fair, I knew what Assassin's Creed was gonna be. The only thing that really upset me about that shit was their lack of fucking focus on developing this game.
It's still not patched.
Yeah. The Division has been in development so much that if it's still fucked, I am going to be so obliteratedly pissed.
That is what is keeping me from like pre-ordering that game or like really getting excited. Is honestly that game needs to come out and be out for like a week before I touch it, because I'm just that afraid of blowing the money on something that's just
nowadays
garbage.
That's every game.
Well,
every game
as a streamer, I want to be on their first day, but as a streamer who doesn't make a whole lot of money, I can't always blow $80 on something we're gonna play once and go, this is a broken mess, and I can't do this.
Yeah.
I find that happens a lot with certain games where I'm like, yeah, I'll play it with you, and then we go through 2 or 3 matches, and I'm like, I fucking hate this.
But luckily, though, for the most part, most of the ones we end up buying are like $20, $30 games.
Yeah.
I just took the gamble on Evolve, because like we played it in Alpha, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like unhappy with it. I'm a little unhappy with the DLC structure, but that's a whole other thing. Like, it was $60 for Evolve, and me and Steven had to have a huge debate on, like, okay, are we going to play this? Because I don't want to spend $60 if we're going to spend, like, a week on this game. Even you, like, we checked with you, and we were like, are you in? And you were like, yee. And then we had to have a bigger debate
I told him, I'm not committing unless you tell me you're committing.
Yeah,
I will not buy the game unless you buy the game.
You hang up. No, you hang up.
It was like a married couple whole thing. There was like literally 3 days of this going.
But hold on, I did catch something in Steven's eyes when you mentioned the DLC. Steven, would you like to tell us about the DLC?
Well, okay. In a quick nutshell, I think that there's a lot of people going, oh my god, it's like pay to win. And then a lot of people like not thinking about it as much. I can't tell you for sure if it's going to be pay to win or not. I haven't seen these characters. I haven't looked at... All I know is that their DLC plan is probably a bit pricey, but I don't know if I'd say it's necessarily like, a big kerfuffle like everybody's trying to make it out to be.
Well,
because there's a lot of games that are competitive that have multiple characters that are released over time, and those games don't have problems with doing that either.
I'm totally cool with the fact that they're doing DLC. What I think is bullshit is that they announced the DLC before they officially announced the game, which totally tells me what frame of mind these people are in.
I actually hate that argument too, because at the end of the day, you have to realize that they haven't been able to do anything for the last 3 months. Like, the content can't be added anymore. If they've been working on stuff after they've got the game's content release package, they don't get to put that in the game. They have to patch it in later.
That's fine.
So
DLC's
okay, hey, money out of it. I just don't think...
No. You go, hey, look, we have this cool new game. Check it out. And then 2 days later, hey, this cool new game, it's going to have DLC. Not, hey, look, we have this cool DLC for this game that, oh, shit, you haven't heard about this. But look, there's this cool DLC. That's my problem with it, right?
That was more my stance. Like, games have been doing DLC forever. When Sims comes out, the first thing you think is, oh, cool, what crazy-ass DLC are they going to come out with for Sims? Because since the first Sims, there's
you want to drown that baby,
90
don't
fucking...
you?
What baby? There's a baby?
In the Sims, yeah.
I don't think you can drown the baby, but you can put people in pools and then take out the ladders.
I never got to kill the baby. Somebody always showed up and took it away before I got the chance.
Well, that's why you. Okay, look, this isn't because I'm a sick fuck. This is because I've seen this happen. Shut up. If you put the baby within a walled enclosure,
she will teleport.
Yeah,
the fuck
one of two things
in.
will happen. Yes. So it will either be the demon, like she's fucking like swoops in. It's like Shazam and gone. Or what you do is if there's a trick where you like put appliances around it, and she can't Shazam through the fucking or bamf through the fucking appliances. So you have to put a
baby in a room surrounded by toasters,
yeah,
and then she can't get in.
I think it's more like ovens, and then you can the oven will light on fire and don't put it out. Hell, the baby will burn.
I actually have a pretty funny story about The Sims, because there was a time
baby burning.
No, but it's a good story. This is back Sims 2, I believe it was. It was a while ago, and they had just recently added like the death models and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, cool, death or whatever. I had a situation where I had a family of like 2 or 3 people, and one of the dudes ended up dying. And then death shows up, right? But instead of like going up to the corpse like you normally would do it, and you'd like beg for forgiveness and like maybe he'd give your character back to life, instead he kind of walks in, looks around, sits down on the fucking couch, flips on the TV, and sits there and watches it for like 6 days straight.
So there's literally a rotting corpse in the living room, and Death's just chilling like, man,
not my problem. Not my problem.
I leave, and my characters are literally unable to do anything because they're scripted to talk to Death at the time. This was like when he first came out, so they're sitting there standing for 6 days next to the couch while he's sitting on the fucking couch.
Well, would you move? Death comes in and just starts watching TV. Everybody's like, "Don't fucking alert him, dude. Just hold still, and he'll leave on his own."
Wait, no, he's not a fucking T-Rex, dude. He fucking, if you move,
you
he
don't
will
know.
see you.
You've never met the guy.
I've never met a T-Rex either.
This is true. End of the day, it was just the funniest thing ever because he didn't even pick up the body. He ended up leaving, and the fucking dude was still dead there. I didn't get an urn, nothing. Like, it was just a dead guy on the floor, and I'm like, that's a weird-ass bug, guys.
That's what you call the mob cleaner sim.
Yeah,
here, have some fucking lye, throw him in the bathtub, a couple days he'll melt. Wait, right. I didn't say that. Are we live? No.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that's my great Sims story there.
But yeah, no, so back to Evolve. Here's the reason why I didn't actually commit to that. Because I played it, and I did it for the Let's Play, and it was, it was entertaining. But then that little replay at the end made me realize we just fucking ran around and around and around, and I'm just like, that's boring as fuck. I mean, I don't know if I could sit there and play a game where it's just like, oh, look, and then he's here, and now he's here, and now he's running like a little beach. it's the same reason for me personally. This is a personal thing. I didn't play Left 4 Dead. It's because there was
help
no.
when the game is described as this, because I found this helped me get into it a lot more. Is it was described to me as the ultimate game of hide and seek.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly.
First off, you're a sick fuck, and I will never forgive Uncle Andy.
I don't even know what the fuck just happened, but
I don't either, but he got all sad, pouty face, so let's move on. Devin, I think you have something to talk about when it comes to Marvel.
So, it's a big announcement, but I'm just here to reassure people that it's not a big announcement. Alright?
Okay. Give us
Worst
your PSA,
segue ever.
buddy.
So, no, he did the segue.
I
I
know.
failed to take the handoff. No.
I know, I like both of them gave you that one. It was great.
What if it was a hand job he was offering?
Still in. So, Marvel has semi-reacquired Spider-Man.
Now, explain what semi-reacquired means, because that's
It's
important.
not full mast.
Yeah, it means he's still limp.
So, it means that Marvel is going to use Spider-Man in crossover films, and Sony will not receive money for those.
Okay.
Sony will make standalone Spider-Man films that cross over with their little Spider-Man universe they're doing, and Marvel will not receive money for those films.
So far, so good.
Yes and no, because with the way that's worded, to me, it sounds like Sony gets to show up and go, we're putting this guy in our standalone Spider-Man, that's who you'll be using for your Marvel Spider-Man. Anything they decide is background canon for him is what Marvel is going to have to do, otherwise you get this skewed universe that doesn't match up. I don't think, from what it sounds like, it's not going to be Sony has a running Spider-Man and Marvel has a running Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure what they're saying is that they get to use the same dude, and he's just going to show up for Marvel events, but still be a Sony standalone, we control the character.
I thought it was going to be more like, when they do Superior Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man comic runs at the same time, where they're both doing really different shit, and they're not really lining up, and they kind of do their own thing.
It wasn't how it was worded, at least how I read it. That wasn't how it was worded.
Okay.
And think of it like this. You're Sony. Somebody's going to make a competing Spider-Man. You're not going to agree to that. You know what I mean? Because then everybody's going to go, they got the better one, and nobody's going to watch yours. You don't want a competing product.
That's where the question comes in, because as part of this, they might actually work together to build this backstory. Because aren't they redoing Spider-Man's backstory yet again?
It's all... None of that is confirmed. We're
right,
assuming that's not confirmed.
So, again, assuming that's correct, then, I mean, if they work together with Marvel and make a Spider-Man that doesn't suck balls, then what does it matter, right?
Yeah,
but if
they
Sony gets to decide,
together.
right, if Sony gets to decide our Spider-Man is this guy, then that could be really bad, because so far he's kind of sucked balls.
What happens when Sony decides that the new Spider-Man has a fucking peg leg and an eye patch?
Then that's what, because even if they decide to work together, look at Kevin Smith's story about the whole Superman film that he did. He had this producer who was like, you're putting this in there. All it takes is some Sony producer to go oh, you're doing this, though. We'll work together and we'll put in all your stuff, but you're doing this one thing. And now suddenly, the character has diabetes or something.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's diabetes.
Diabetes.
Mr. Brimley. And that's why I wanted to reassure people. It was just supposed to be a short thing of don't overhype this, don't get excited. He's not home yet. Let's get details.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing. This could be the first step towards him becoming, back to home. But as it is right now, I'm not that excited about it. It'd be cool to see him again, though.
Yeah.
Here's the bigger problem with this, and it's just a rumor as far as I know, or it could be confirmed, but the last article I read is just a rumor, that unfortunately, because Spider-Man is coming to Marvel, a couple of the Marvel Universe things have been postponed. Black Panther, Miss Marvel, and even the new Blade thing that we're gonna do, because Marvel has the
I thought
rights to
Panther
Blade
was
back.
staying, but yeah, Marvel and I think Inhumans are what got pushed back.
Yeah. So, but the point is that all these cool things that I wanted to see that weren't gonna be part of the main Marvel universe, because I love the fucking Inhumans, and
I'm excited to see that for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that stuff's been pushed back for another Spider-Man run, which we don't need a reboot right now.
If they do I'm okay with another Spider-Man movie. If they do another origin movie, I'm gonna shit bricks.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch another origin for Spider-Man. I've already seen 2 that are both bad. I'm done with that.
And we all get it at this point. The kid was bit by a fucking spider.
Right.
So, you know what?
Move on.
Here's what you do. You add Spider-Man in as a character to the Marvel Universe, and within that movie, you give him a couple of flashbacks. That's it.
I wouldn't even do flashbacks. You
don't
sum
even need
this
them.
up in a Tony Stark quip. Oh, aren't you that kid from New York swinging around the webs? Yeah, that's me. Tee! And then they fucking move on.
Right.
Again,
and then
we
anything
get it.
else that's imperative, can be brought up as context in conversation. It's you can give exposition without saying this is the exposition. You don't have to beat people over the head with it for them to
You
get
don't
it.
have to do flashbacks. Fucking Lost
No,
started that
you don't.
shit and it never ended.
I just don't. I don't think that Spider-Man deserves his own movie again. At least not for a while.
He's gonna
I think,
earn it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he does need to earn
I
it,
think
honestly.
the pre-planned stuff should happen, and then Spider-Man, if he does well, and if this new Spider-Man doesn't suck balls, then you give him a movie, right? It's like
Right.
it's like DC's doing with Batman. Like, you go ahead and you threw Batman in, as long as you don't give him another fucking origin story, just let him do his thing. He's Batman.
I really hope that's one of the things in BVS, BVS, DOJ. If they do it, like, how are you even supposed to work it in at this point? It's already a Batman and Superman movie. If we go over either origin again, I'm gonna choke people.
Yeah. Well, the S means hope. So.
Oh, shut up. Dying of fire. Oh my god. I hate you. Talk about something else.
Well,
I demand we switch.
Oh, hi, Van.
She says hello.
Apparently.
Everybody,
Van.
Everybody, that was Van.
Everybody.
She's the woman that puts up with me.
Yeah, I don't understand. You should ask her
Right?
that sometime and tell us
Yeah.
what she says. So moving along a little bit, I did want to talk some more DLC related stuff. Actually, well, DLC is not really the word, but that kind of theme. So I want to talk about this a couple of weeks ago, but I never got a chance to bring it up. The new Resident Evil game apparently is going to have microtransactions as a part of its experience, right?
So is this akin to like what Dead Space did?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. Can I just pause here for a second?
Sure.
New Resident Evil, is this not the Resident Evil remake? This is a whole brand new one,
Revelations or whatever
like
they're making.
number 7 or some shit.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Resident
Okay.
Evil 63.
Yeah.
So somebody said one specific thing that I thought was particularly funny about this, because microtransactions in a single-player game is essentially akin to paying for cheat codes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
What the fuck? Can I not have my cheat codes and just have my cheat codes?
Oh my god! But it's monetization. It's what they're doing.
I know.
It's what the gaming industry is doing, right?
I
Yeah.
guarantee you some moron executive is going to try and call it freemium, not understanding the idea at all.
Right. You paid for the game, and this is freemium stuff. What? No!
So look, okay, and it depends. It depends. If they want to give your character funny hats,
Yeah, that was going
Go
to be
for
my
it.
next question. Is this like LOL, and is it, Redfield wears a tutu this time or something? Like, do we know what they mean by microtransactions?
I think it's actually weapons and shit like that. It's all sort of secondhand and rumor, but it's been confirmed, or they stated
it's still supposed to be survival horror. Yes.
it. Right.
To be fair, those last couple games weren't. They were action
not.
horror.
I'm so done with the Resident Evil series because of those games, but like at the end
I
of the
do
day,
still
it's
enjoy mercenary mode.
Mercenary mode was kind of fun.
It's
I think
so enjoyable.
4 was probably the last good Resident Evil game, in my opinion.
I really like the
4.
mercenary mode in 5. I don't think I played 6.
4. Okay, so
It was
4.
GameCube.
over the shoulder
Oh,
camera.
the GameCube. Okay, that all right. Fair
Was it
enough. I
GameCube?
didn't.
I realized it was only GameCube. I thought it was PlayStation.
Pretty sure
Maybe
it
it
was
was on
GameCube.
that first, but that was the one that was like the one that was on GameCube at the
No.
least.
GameCube had 0, which was in its own thing.
Oh,
Played 0 then.
we don't talk about 0.
But no, it
No,
was
actually,
4 was on GameCube. Do
4
I have
was-
to Google this shit?
You can Google it if you want.
But no,
4
anyway, so the Resident
game
Evil
had
series
over
is
the shoulder.
it's
That's
supposed to
on
be
PlayStation.
survival horror. Yes, that's
Right.
what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So if you add monetization to it, or these microtransactions, is how are you going to be afraid of something if you've got a fucking laser cannon that you can just pull out and? I mean,
And that's
doesn't
my
defeat the whole
like,
purpose.
why am I paying for my goddamn cheat codes? If I want to make the game trivial and have a super funny time with it, Let me just do that. You know, like I shouldn't have to pay you to do that. Like that's stupid. And if I want to have a game like that's another thing is, are they ramping the game up to match these microtransactions? Because now if the game is ultra hard,
let's take this to the extreme.
So hold on, because I found it.
Okay.
First listed Nintendo GameCube.
Really?
Then PlayStation 2, 3, PC, Wii, iOS, X360, and Zeebo. And if anybody can explain to me what the fuck a Zeebo is, I will give you an imaginary $1.
You know what?
Was it
Our
re-released
listeners
on
tell us
GameCube?
who the fuck Zeebo is. Who or what?
Wait, wasn't Zeebo... Now, I'm pretty sure I read about this. Zeebo was an evil clown in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, dude, that you're talking about when I was a child and I was poor and I didn't have cable.
They put Resident Evil 4 on him, and he went, "What the fuck is this?"
That's what it was. It was an evil clown, and they put a game on him.
So back to the topic though. So let's take this to the extreme. Resident Evil 72 or whatever the hell this one is. Every time you want to know a part of the story, you have to pay 2 cents.
I was thinking it was by the bullet. It's a penny a bullet. You can wait 2 days to get more bullets, or you can just pay them and get more bullets.
Hold on, Devin. I think that you're not realizing that there are different kinds of bullets.
Oh,
it's one
shit.
for a 45, but if you want to get your 6-shooter bullets or whatever they call it, the Magnum bullets or whatever gun they call it, those are more like 50 cents a bullet. And if you want rockets, that's like 75 cents a bullet.
Here's how it is. It's like a guy shows up and his name is blurred out on the text on the screen, and it's like
his name?
Yeah, the audio just says blank and then dialogue. They're just talking about blank. Oh, hi, da da da, and you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then you pay 25 cents to blur out his name and get the text. If you don't pay the 25 cents, every other word starts getting blurred as you go along the story.
The funniest thing
how long before it's just like, to beat this boss, pay $6?
So that's the thing. Like, actually, I don't know if you guys have watched Black Mirror at all, or if I mentioned it before.
That's
but
racist.
as a quick aside for anybody who who's not familiar with it, Black Mirror is a BBC style production that's very similar to the old Twilight Zone, except for it's more modern day stuff. And the second episode
The
is
Outer Limits?
No, more like Twilight Zone. The second episode is actually a lot about this kind of thing. It's all about gamification, like at its worst, along with like microtransaction stuff and things like that. It's a really good episode, and if anybody wants to see something that kind of talks about where this could go if it keeps this sort of steady increase in just this ridiculousness, the second episode of Black Mirror totally fits exactly into this. It's literally this in a show. Because it's like, I gotta pay for this, I gotta pay for that, and I gotta pay for this, and if you don't have the money, you get fucked, kind of thing. And it literally talks about that as a
So
whole.
if you can't afford your big ass fries,
I was thinking the exact same thing. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Monetization is ridiculous, especially on first-person games. Again,
not first-person games, single-player games.
Sorry, single-player games.
I mean,
but
honestly, I still think LoL and Dota are probably the only two that are like truly doing it right. Here's the game,
and
play the game. Do you want silly
TF2.
hats? Yeah.
Well, TF2 was one of the first microtransactions major studio games.
And you know what they went? They were like, if you have extra money and you want to just give us money for goofy shit, cool. Here you go.
The other really cool thing about the way Valve does it is they also have community-based items that are being created, like hats and stuff, and the money you pay for those things through their shop actually does contribute to those artists or those developers. So it's actually even more cool in that regard.
You know what's super weird about that is that at one point there was like a black market for TF2 hats.
There still is a black market for TF2 hats, as far as I know, and I
thought like Valve had taken some steps to minimize all that, but I know for a fact for a while it was like, oh, you got some food stamps? No, even better.
I said
three
this
hats.
The currency became the the Apple OS X earbud pieces that you could get if you ran the game with a Mac during the promotional time. Those became the primary currency, a lot like Stones of Jordan and Diablo 2 did. It was literally like that. It was ridiculous. It was over the top. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man. This monetization thing, like, I really wish people would kind of get away from that idea. I know you want to make more money for your game, but stop trying to squeeze every goddamn dollar out of us. You know, like, really, it's getting old.
So I honestly think that if companies would stop spending $500 million on marketing alone, they wouldn't have to do stupid shit like this. And
if I learned anything from Game Dev Tycoon.
Marketing is important.
Not as much as making a good game.
Yeah,
No,
I'm just saying.
And we are fuck awful at making casual games.
None of us could do it. None of us could do it.
Not one game. Like, I literally made Rock Band. I fucking love Rock Band. I still play it all the time.
And if you guys want a better taste of that, I believe we talked a little bit at length about it, and I don't really know for sure because we were all drunk on a drunk cast, which you guys can check out.
Yeah, but
You
nobody
can kind of watch that.
Yeah, it's
well,
much unwatchable.
you can listen to it.
Listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so you brought up some douchebaggery. Let me bring up some douchebaggery.
Take it away, man.
Your
You guys
whole
know-
life. Begin.
No,
Hey.
that was assholery. Thank you very much. So you guys heard of obviously you've heard of the Grammys, right?
Never heard of it.
No, never at all.
I fucking
No
hate all
idea.
of you. So Kanye West shenanigans
Jesus
again.
Christ.
Okay.
I'm out,
as soon as I
guys.
say the name, everybody's like immediately disappointed. So
So
you
done.
guys know a couple years back he did the whole jump up for Taylor Swift. All right. This
I'm gonna
year,
let you finish.
yeah, that whole bit. So this year, Beck won like album of the year. Or
Am I
something.
the only one who was surprised that Beck was still making music?
Right?
Wait, Beck's still making music?
Exactly.
Yes!
Wait, he's relevant? No. But anyway, so he wins.
That's impressive.
And then Kanye West runs up to the stage and then just kind of backs off, right? Like, oh, ho, haha, making fun of myself. Cool, whatever. People were like, oh, you know, he's just trying to make light of what he did before, whatever. All right, then after the show, they interview him. And I'm going to give you part of his quote because it's actually pretty long, but I am quoting Kanye West. He goes, I just know that the Grammys, if they want real artists to keep coming back, they need to stop playing with us. We ain't gonna play with them no more. Flawless, Beyonce video, and Beck needs to respect artistry, and he should have given his award to Beyonce, and at this point, we're tired of it. Holy
Okay.
fuck. So he goes up there, and he's like, oh, Beck needs to respect artistry, while he's
Hey,
disrespecting...
Beck made Odelay.
No, but he's disrespecting artistry at that moment, and he's like, oh no, Beck should have given his award away. I'm like, how can you even say any of this? Like, you disrespect artists all the time. You're egotistical. It blew my mind. And, you know, there was a lot of backlash, and Beck was very gracious about it, and he was like, oh no, you know, Kanye is a genius.
Beck
he kind
was all Beck about it.
he was all Beck about it. He was kind of kissing his ass, like saying, oh, I aspire to do what Kanye was. And I'm like, don't encourage him. Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Don't let him do that. But anyways, I just wanted to give you an update that, you know, he's still a douchebag.
Kanye West is still a douchebag?
Yeah, it happens, but I don't know. He keeps talking about how real artists should be getting. What the fuck does that mean? People voted to have, you know, I believe the Grammys are like a big vote thing, or are they like the Oscars? Do you guys know?
I have no fucking idea. I don't pay attention to that kind of crap.
It's music, man.
Doesn't matter if it's music or not. Like, I don't pay attention to their award ceremonies.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I like to point out that our chat room is right. We have someone who says the guy thinks he's Jesus. He literally.
I know,
Yeah,
it's
he did
fucking
say
so
that.
dumb. He said it literally.
Yes, he actually named one of his albums Yeezus. Like nobody was gonna fucking notice.
Well, my whole thing was when the Beatles said we're bigger than Jesus, one of them got fucking shot. Kanye West goes, I am Jesus. And everyone's
Totally
just
fine.
like, weirdo. What?
Maybe people are just sitting there going like, "Oh, he's so cute.
Look at the
Look
goofy
at
bastard
him.
play.
Oh."
Like, what the shit?
I don't know. Look, I'll admit
I'm not saying I want the guy to get shot or anything. I'm just saying, like,
right?
one
But
of them had a pretty severe reaction.
I've heard some of his songs in other things, not like just I listen to his songs, but like some of his...
We know you have a sick little fetish over there.
Oh yeah, totally.
Kanye.
Kanye, yeah.
Never do that again.
Yeah.
What the hell does your shirt say?
It says flee, like run away. It's for all the villagers. But
this is a great audio aspect of our
you
cast.
were opening up a little bit, and all I saw was Lee, and I was like, "Who's Lee?"
Dude, no, it's the Tenacious D song, just Lee.
Oh, I like that shirt better. Make that shirt instead.
Lee. Talking fucking Lee. Anyways,
let's all listen to Steven whisper the song Lee to himself.
Apparently, the audience says there's a stupid dance you do. Show us your stupid dance.
Oh, you guys want to see my awesome fusion core dance? This is not mine. I can't take credit. It's Day 9's. That's right.
Okay. Well, for those who aren't watching the live stream, he literally just stood there like an idiot. That's the only way I can describe it.
Thanks. That's just very descriptive.
Sorry.
He looked like any white guy dancing in a club.
And that's why we don't go clubbing.
I do not go clubbing. I do not do that. Oh, man.
But anyways, Kanye's a douchebag. Some of his music's okay. But yeah, totally D-bag. What can I say?
So talking about things that might make less of a douchebag. To make, like I said, to talk about things that might
Bolsa
make
de douche.
The segue. I actually want to talk.
That's right.
I give up. I give up.
Right. Oh, I surrender. I'm not using the right accent. Sorry.
That's racist.
It was a little racist.
At least I'm not talking about
to edit that chunk out later. I'm sorry to everybody who just saw that live.
Anyways, I want to talk a bit about a concept that kind of came up to me through another show that I watch and follow a lot of. They brought up the concept that there's a lot of press that always happens about games creating people who are violent or who have no empathy or things like that. And they're talking about all these studies that kind of come up that sort of show correlation or whatever like that. But they also wanted to say that there's a gaping giant hole in the concept of games creating empathetic people, like and instilling empathy to its players. And I thought that was a really awesome thing because I can't think of a single person that I've played games with who hasn't had a moment where they sat there and went, wow, that made me feel something when they've played games, and then later on understood the position of somebody else because of it,
No, absolutely.
I often feel like I'm a J-pop person in a Final Fantasy world. Okay. Honestly speaking, though, yes, the Dear Esther, I know people don't always consider that a game, but it was fucking impactful.
Sims.
Yeah,
that's the game's the type that I kind of wanted to bring up a little bit. Like I've played through, and I know Devin has at this point as well, the entirety of the first season of Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
And that game is so chock full of these moments where you really have to ask yourself, what would I do in this situation? And like it really pushes this understanding of like if you were in a place where you had to ration food and you had some people not liking you, some people that did, some people that were children, like what would you do in that circumstance? And it got me really thinking. Like I sat there I had to walk away from the game for a bit and just kind of go like, what would I do? Like, do I want to appease the people that I feel like I'm going to need later on? Or do I give this to the people that I care about because they're ones I care more about? Like, what is the right choice?
Even if you look at the game from a point of view that's not even emotional, even if you're just being strategic, you still have to go through that same mindset as well. Like, you still have to break down the situation of, do I need to use someone later, or, do I need to just do what I want to do now? Like, it's hard to even just play the game as like, I'm playing game. You still have to break down emotionally complex situations.
Right.
It's brilliant.
This isn't even the only example of stuff like that. There's other games like Eddie said with Final Fantasy or Mass Effect, or a lot of really solid RPG writing teams put these stories together that really start to make you feel something. Like, it blows me away that there hasn't been any research on this kind of thing or even talks about it, because it's actually one of the best parts about the games.
And even like smaller games, like, indie games, like we talked about Game Dev Tycoon. How many times was I sitting in the room when Devin was like yelling at that one employee, like, fuck you, Yusuf, or whatever his name
He
is.
was a piece
Yosef.
of shit. It was not Yosef.
I
normal.
made that up, but I
like
made
Glenn.
the name up. But yeah, no,
hated
he was
Glenn.
just like, fuck you, I
what's
gave you
Glenn?
training.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, and that's the thing. Like, that game puts you a little bit in the shoes of what it's like to kind of run a company a little bit, and like, exactly. Like, games have a super powerful ability to put you in the shoes of somebody else, way more so than any movie or book can really do. Like, those things can kind of do it a little bit, but you view it from like an observing spot, right? Whereas games put you in the shoes. Like, as much as people kind of rag on the Call of Duty series, I really feel like there's a lot of good things in some of the earlier ones that were out there, kind of creating the circumstances and these stories that had a lot of like power and grip to them, even if they were like grossly dramatized and obviously really patriotic in a lot of ways. They still had a lot of really cool things to say.
And I know I'm a huge like Mass Effect fanboy, but that one point, spoilers, where you have to choose which one of your crew members lives or dies in the first one. You know how long I spent trying to figure out a way to save both of them?
For me, it took 2 seconds. But
Yeah, I was like, I hate that bitch.
I mean, and it's only because she tried to kill Rex, who is one of my favorite characters ever.
Yes.
But
I don't know, man. It was like, well, but she's gonna put out later. I know she's gonna put out later.
You're a
So
horrible
I was
person.
totally split.
I had no interest in sex at that point, so it didn't matter.
Oh man, but no, it was like I was so invested into both of these characters, right? Because if you remember, was it Kayden had
Kayden and Ashley, I believe.
yeah. So Kayden had this whole like, if you talk to him, his whole backstory of how they basically experimented on him to give him his fucking biotic powers and all that. I was so involved in both of their backstories that I literally wanted to find a way to save them both. I was like, maybe if I'm fast enough. But no, wow.
You tried to go all Batman about it, like, no!
Yeah.
By the way, pull a Vash or whatever. So I actually have a really cool story that has to do a little bit about this. It's a little bit of a tangent, but I kind of want to go off on it anyways because it's related. So when I first played the game, I definitely let Ashley go to fucking hell because again, she tried to kill Rex. And then later on, like I think it was like half a year later, they put out 2. And I had actually gone through a format for my computer, so I didn't have my save file. And I was like, I don't want to play through that game again right now. And so what I did is I went online and tried to find a game file that was exactly like what I had done based off the criteria for the next game, right? And what happened is that I found one that was perfect in every single way, except for one. Ashley was alive instead of Kayden. And I was like, oh, and I couldn't find anything else. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to suck it up, and I did it. So I played through the game, and I don't really think much about it until the third game, where there's a circumstance where that character has a whole big thing going on. And there's this whole time where she's second-guessing me for, like, the beginning because of all the things in 2, and I'm just getting, like, really frustrated with this bitch. I'm like, oh, I wish she was dead kind of thing. And it comes to this circumstance where, like, you do a whole thing and you prove that everything you've been saying is the truth. And she sits there and kind of, like, looks dejected or whatever, and you get a choice to throw her off the crew or whatever, or keep her, and I decided to get rid of her. And then later on, Joker, who's one of the best characters ever, he's sitting there, and I talk to all my crew after this kind of thing, and he sits there, and I talk to him, and the first thing he does, he gets up, he puts his hand on his head and salutes me, and then sits back down, and I ask him, what was that about? And he's like, ma'am, it's just giving you the respect you deserve. And I was just like, this moment made me feel so... It was such a touching spot that I would never have had without that stupid save file thing, but it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I just got this like huge feeling of like, having spent a huge amount of time dealing with all this bullshit and doing something that really kind of sucked because you don't really want to lose people in such a desperate fight, and having somebody go like, you did the right thing, man, and it's just how it hit me was just fantastic. And games
then he wiped himself up and took a nap.
Yep, exactly. That was actually after the Garrus scene, I'm just saying.
Splurge.
But the point is that games have this power of creating that super empathetic, awesome experience. And I really think that those should
have the power to infuriate the fuck out of me.
Oh yeah. Definitely. But
I have snapped many a controller.
Oh man.
Rain of Fire? Do we want to talk about Rain of Fire?
You couldn't beat that game. It was not possible. The game was built without you being able to beat it.
I have thrown controllers for Battletoads, man. That game.
Fuck fucking Battletoads.
That game, dude, that fucking speeder bike section is awful. You're just like, and you like just get crazy. But yeah, so I wanted to get you guys' opinion on that. Like, do you really feel like there hasn't been enough there, and do you think that it should be worth getting some studies that show the opposite of what everybody is talking of? Would that kind of help the like look at games sort of thing? Because I think it would.
See, but the tricky bit, honestly, is that we're not going to hear about that unless you and I talk about it here on the podcast or during the live stream. We're not going to hear about that. You know why? Because people like tragedies.
Yeah.
They don't like happy stories. So it's just something that's not going to be reported on regardless. Like, I'm sure there are many things. There was a story recently where a man would use video games to teach his child about life and about choice and decision and stuff like that. And it was great. But there was a small comment on one of the sites that I read, a very small headline, but oh my God, there's this lawyer guy, I forget his name, but who's trying to tell us that video games are bad again. It's just it's ridiculous, man. Like,
well, it's kind of like I said before, and I don't remember where I may not have even brought it up on the cast, but there was a guy who was playing Grand Theft Auto 3 with his 6-year-old son, and the way he was playing it is he wasn't going through the story and murdering everybody, but instead he was pointing out cars and just teaching colors and like traffic laws and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was playing Grand Theft Auto, but he wasn't really playing the game. He was just kind of strolling.
Yeah, he was using it as a tool to teach stuff. Like, even the most obscene-sounding things have their value to be shown to anybody. And I thought that was the coolest thing about that story. And where I kind of like look at this and go, it's really just tragic that there's a missing element to this, which is the opposite side. And I'd like to see more of it. I would love to see if we can really try and get some real studies on that. Maybe a petition or something like that would be kind of cool thing. But the point is,
what sucks is at the end of the day, though, anybody of any note is going to look at this situation and go, "You're really going to fight this hard over video games?" Like it's we have a hard time even being recognized as art. Like it was either Gene Siskel or the other.
I think it was.
That's actually
Ebert.
The whole thing.
What was it, Ebert? Okay,
I think it was Ebert.
He was like, games will never be art, and I was like, it's
bullshit.
Like that's just it's totally wrong. But what we're doing right now is just preaching to the choir. The people who are sitting on Twitch, they already know this.
It's true.
They're not megalomaniacs who are being fucking murder fueled off of this, and it's hard to get that. Like, we can talk about this all day. Other podcasters, streamers bigger than us can talk about this all day. We're still all just preaching to the choir.
Yep. Well, that's kind of my point, though. Is it's like one of those things where it's like
worth talking about.
It is worth talking about. I kind of hope people will take that idea and kind of pass the word around, because if we get enough people talking about it, maybe we can make a little bit of a difference. Even if it's like we're preaching the choir, we might be able to get people to talk enough about it to get something like that actually being said. Because at the end of the day, we know it's art, but everybody else doesn't see it that way, even though that makes no sense. And,
it's just like the fact that the superhero movies are very prevalent right now. It took a long time.
It really did.
It may take an even longer time for video games to be the interactive and taken seriously and popular. But I think
one of the good things we have going for us is the schools that are getting behind esports leagues. When a good school can get behind it and go, we're treating it like a sport, and they can show that. Like it can be done in this positive way. Like, here's these kids doing a hyper-competitive thing, but being treated like every other normal student, every other sportsy, bally student. You know what I mean? Like, it's being put in the same light and being put on the same pedestal. So it's not all negative press, and I think the bigger thing to do would be, instead of just talking about the negative sides and how we can combat it, is just keep supporting the positive sides and just keep showing that the positive side is what we're looking at. We're ignoring the negative side because it's a bunch of angry 13-year-olds, and we were all angry when 13. What we need to do is focus on the good things that are happening and get behind those and make those as big as they can be.
I totally want to...
So the thing is that it's like, sports. Sports are so mainstream and such a big thing, but if we sat and talked about all the riots, all the killings because a ref made a bad call, like referees have been killed, then sports cause violent people. So I just don't think it's that. And actually, a good point was brought up by the chat. I wanted to bring that up. Is that virtual reality the the new headsets coming up and all that, I think are definitely going to help bring video games to be more mainstream, because it's going to become more interactive, and it's going to become less a niche thing that dorks do, and more of an experience. Like, you know what? Instead of going to the movie this weekend, why don't we just sit at home? We put on these VR headsets and fuck around in a virtual world, right? Of course, we're still far away from being able to do a full immersion, but I honestly think that if we head in the direction we're heading, it's totally going to help.
There's the other side of that, too, where there might be theaters that create these experiences for mass scale, and that could be a really cool event and things like that. Like, there's a lot of things that can come out of this. But I also wanted to bring up another thing that came up in chat, which is, basically video games make more money than movies and music, so they should start talking about it as art. I totally agree with that, because it's a huge fucking thing. It's not some small little tiny thing in the corner anymore. It's not a thing that only, kids in arcades play. Like, the demographics, like, 36-year-olds or whatever.
Okay, but the problem is what gets the buzz is shoot 'em ups. You know what I mean?
It's true.
You're right. Like, unless it's Saving Private Ryan, that's not art. It's not like a beautiful piece. It's murder. But the other games do exist, and again, I think it's more about glorifying. Like, what was the one I played that you guys wanted to stab me for? Was it Leaf for the PS3? Where you just play as a fucking leaf in the wind, dude.
No, I wanted to play that game.
That game was so much
that
fun.
game sounded so cool.
You have no idea how zen.
No, but hold on. Here's one thing I do have to bring up, though. We can't have it both ways, right? We can't be like, oh yeah, video games make more money than movies, and then be like fucking casuals, because that's actually one of the places that make
I mean
the most money.
No, hold on. I mean, as much as I bitch about casuals and all the bullshit that they like kind of put into the like bigger games, that does not mean there's not a place for the hardcore aspect, and it's not like that's completely weeded out.
We're
Esports is a great place for hardcore. So as much as I hate their casual things, I deal with them because at the end of the day, I understand that to reach a broader audience, you have to put these things in there. You can't expect everyone to be tip-top, super micro, macro people. Like, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes I don't fucking feel like putting an hour aside.
I totally agree. Sometimes I just want to sit down and play 5 minutes of this Zen experience.
I just want to poop and move some gems around on my phone.
Yeah, dude, play the tools on the toilet.
That's where casual games shine, man. They are the best toilet games in the world. And I'm sorry, like, it's the only reason I enjoy my iPhone. My work gave it to me. I did not choose an iPhone. My phone of choice is my little, full keyboard, not smartphone that I have here. I hate my iPhone, but that thing comes in handy for a long poop. You got a stomachache, and you're like, well, at least I got a friend. A game where it's at.
It's funny because it used to be comic books. Now it's comic books on my iPad. But
that's I yell at my mom all the time because she won't get like a Kindle or anything. She just still collects books. She's like, oh, I just like the smell of a book. But comic books is where I draw the line. I don't do digital comics. All of my comics are right up there in a big stack, and they're physical.
I can't do digital books just because I like having that feel of a book in my hand. But
eventually, I'm sorry, guys. I like the fact that I can carry a little device and have 20 things in it.
No,
otherwise I'd be like,
oh
my god, where am I going to put the toilet paper?
I get the awesomeness of being able to like bring that large number of books so easily, but like there's just, for me, there really is a special thing about, especially like a well-traveled book. Good stories. I read the book Jitterbug Perfume, which is a fantastic it's a ridiculous, fantastic novel. But
that
my
was
best
the name
enemy,
of my boy band in high school.
Nice. But my best enemy hands me this book and says, dude, you gotta read this. And I'm like, okay. And I picked this thing up, and it had been read by so many people that the pages felt like just like really fine vellum almost. Not because they were kind of getting thin or whatever. And like it just like fell into your hand perfectly. And like you read through this thing, and it was just it felt so good to hold that. And he's like, dude, I don't even want it back. Hand it to somebody else. I'm like, fucking deal. So I handed it on. And it was a book that just traveled.
So there's one book that I discovered while I was laid up in the hospital overseas. And it was on a ratty shelf. This was once I was able to, actually get up and I didn't have to watch Friends on my chest on that little DVD player, the story I told before.
Swear to God, Friends has come up like 7 times a day. It's stupid.
But anyways, so there was this book. It didn't even have a cover anymore, right? And I was like, oh yeah, and I started reading this. This thing was fucking fantastic. It ended up being like, it was a Dean Koontz book. And up to this point, I had not heard of Dean Koontz.
Okay.
At least this series, like had read Odd Thomas, but I had never associated that was the author. It was just I always went by the odd titles. But anyways, at this point, and it was a great book, and it got me into his stuff and all this other. It's just to find it in the middle of a shitty base in Iraq in the middle of nowhere. It was just breathtaking. The pages were torn, and it definitely was just. No, I get it. I totally get it. I still buy certain books. And I have them on my shelf, even though I may have them in digital format. But when I'm pooping, I don't want to get my greasy little fucking hands on a fucking book.
I get it. I'm not saying that.
Grease?
Dude, you should see some of this shit.
He has to lube up first. That's what's going on.
Healthy, man.
He has to lube up first. It's just so big.
Oh, that's horrid.
Oh, we've devolved into an awful place. So I'm thinking it might be time for me to whore us out here a little bit.
All right, take it away, Steven.
All right, guys. It's been a great show. I'm glad you guys have been watching, and I hope that you continue to do so. But if you want to catch us after the show, you can email us at 5dpodcast or 5d@5dpodcast.com. That's number 5, letter D. We're on YouTube as well, which is /5dpodcast. We are on Twitch. If you aren't listening or watching it live at 5D Podcast as well. They also have some Twitter IDs. The main is 5D_podcast, and I am Figbird4885. We also our co-host guy who's around. He's been taking a break. If you want to hit him up and say how much you miss him, he's Cosplay Fiend. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Yeah, so catch us tomorrow on the stream here as well on the 5D Twitch.
Yes.
Maybe Neverwinter, maybe something else. We'll figure it out. But usually around 7 to 9, we try to jump on and do some streaming. So you can catch Devin and myself.
Yep.
That's my closing thought.
And another closing thought that's more pluggy kind of stuff. If anybody in the chat knows anybody who's good at doing overlays or graphic art of any kind, or you do some yourself and want to help and give back to the show in a way that isn't donating money, because who has extra money to spend? If you got some time to kill and have some cool art that you want to throw our way, as you can see, we are rebranding and trying to fix this up and make it into a really nice experience for everybody. So, if you guys know anybody you want to pimp off and help out, or if you guys want to do it yourselves and have some art you want to throw our way, that would be awesome. We would love to see what you guys have to submit.
Yeah, shoot us an email. It's again 5d@5dpodcast.com. That's with the number.
I also want to say one thing for PHX, who's on the stream here with us. Escape.
All right, I think
guys,
that's a good place to bow out.
With that,
have
guys,
a good night, everybody.